You're truly a wonderful audience, and I certainly do appreciate it. This program tonight's a little different than I normally do. This is sort of made up almost exclusively of my non-blockbuster films. But they all have special meaning to me, and I quite like the music in them. They all have a certain significance. The Blue Max was the first film that I composed and recorded in London. I subsequently since then probably done at least 30 films here. And it was also my first big epic film with this big orchestra of 100 musicians because the director wanted that. And I argue with the director, we don't need that many musicians. If you knew that would get it right. Well, there is a certain point of no return when you're putting music on a soundtrack, when you have all the sound effects. And, you know, you put 1,000 musicians there, and the mixer just goes like that, and it sounds like tubes. But the director was very upset when I said, well, I've got to work with 98 men, and we're going to save some money. And he looked at me, but I want 100. And they would have saved. So we got I had 2 goers. And that was, and then of course, there's the Planet of the Apes. They didn't ask me to do the sequel, so I didn't get a chance to say no. I don't want it. That was the worst part about it. You know, I don't want to do this film. But at least ask me so I can say no. Have some satisfaction. The Great Train Robbery was interesting because that was one of 7 films that I've done starring Sean Connery, and one of 5 that was written, produced, and directed, one of those things by Michael Crichton, wonderful writer and great intellect. I remember we had a funny, Michael was about 7 feet tall. I think he wrote Jurassic Park and Laser with Timeline. He's a wonderful writer. And we recorded that score in the old Denham studios, Denham Village, which is quite lovely out there. I'm sure some of you remember that. Not you, you're too young. For gray hair. Anyway, and it was a cornfield right next to the studio. And Michael and I had a difference of opinion on one of the scenes. And he's very bright and very literate and very articulate. So he said, let's take a walk and we'll discuss this scene. And I remember we were walking in the cornfield, and I was on one side of this row of corn, and he was on the other side of the row of corn. And of course, the corn was very tall. It was over me, but of course, Michael, you can see it. So we're walking on the conversation. You can't, all I see is corn, and I see his head above the corn. But we did come to a happy solution to the problem. And Supergirl, like, I never even knew Supergirl's a film that Superman's 19th cousin. They had high hopes for it, but it didn't work. As you all know. So I never really did it in any of the programs, and then last year I did some concerts in Japan, and they asked would I please do Supergirl. I said, for heaven's sakes, why? It seems that there's a very successful television show there. It was on for 3, 4, 5 years or something, and the theme was Supergirl, at least the Supergirl theme. So subsequently I did do it there. It was a lot of fun, and it does, make the orchestra work a little hard, but it's a lot of fun, and so I enjoy doing it. Television, what can I tell you about that? Walton's big hit in the UK, and Dr. Kildare, and Man from U.N.C.L.E. It's amazing how these shows travel. I remember that the Waltons was a big hit in the United States, and also at the same time was a big hit in the UK. Now I see it's a big hit in Germany, and it's a big hit in Italy, and it defies me. Why is this so American sort of back heels sort of story so successful abroad? And of course, Rudy is probably a film that none of you know about. Anybody here see Rudy?
Yes.
Well, that's a small portion considering the size of this hall. But it's about football. But the football is really a metaphor for achievement against all odds. It's about a young man who had no particular intellectual qualities and had no athletic ability, but he did want to go to Notre Dame, which is a very important university in the United States, and they have a very famous football team, and he wanted to play football. And through his perseverance, and he made it. And he graduated from Notre Dame, and on his senior year, the last game of the season, they let him go in and play, make one play. So he got the dress for that. And it's a very inspirational picture. I mean, it's one of my favorite films that I did. And unfortunately, it didn't do too well in the United States. And I think even less in foreign. But now, it's sort of a perennial on cable television and television and satellite television in the United States. It became a huge success that way. So that's the story of all our music tonight. And thank you for being such a wonderful audience. And we'll get on with it.